Hi everyone, Kelly here, and I just wanted to have a kind of chatty video where I talk about kind of the concept about reading the right book at the right time and how a specific book that I have read recently has really changed my perspective about life during COVID and living life in isolation at our home. And so just first I wanted to do a little background information about how we're kind of living our life now since March, so for like the past 7 months during the pandemic. Before I do that, I just didn't want you to be distracted. You'll notice in the background what looks kind of like streamers. That's actually called hawk tape. We had a hawk last week diving down and trying to get our chickens, and obviously we want to protect our chickens, and so we bought a rooster because roosters are supposed to help to protect the hens, but our rooster came with lice, and so he's in quarantine right now. Really perfect. So he's quarantined from the hens, so he can't protect them until we get that under control. And so we put up this stuff called hawk tape that's supposed to scare away the hawks. So if you're distracted by the streamers, I apologize. Just think of it as being festive. So anyways, our life in the last 7 months has basically been, we are pretty much completely isolating ourselves at our home. So the four of us, my husband, me, and my 2 kids, our nephews both lived with us towards the beginning of the pandemic for the first 4 months while they were waiting to go to college and stuff like that, or to get started on their schooling. And we have made that choice for 2 reasons. One reason is that we want to not be part of the problem. Like, we don't want to spend a lot of time out in the public and then end up us getting sick and being a burden on the healthcare system, or contribute to getting other people in our area sick. So we've made that choice that we are comfortable being at home pretty much all the time and not participating in, the kids' gymnastics or going out to eat or anything like that where we would be exposing anyone. And also we made that decision because we want to be able to go and visit our family that is more high risk. So we went recently to visit my parents for 2 weeks, and then we waited a while, and then now my father-in-law is visiting us for a while. And all of those family members are obviously higher risk because they're older and they have other health problems. And so we don't feel like we could spend that time with them if we were out in the public very often. So we want to keep ourselves as isolated as possible so that we can spend that time with family. So we made the decision to homeschool our children and to take them out of gymnastics. We only go to stores when we absolutely have to, and then the rest of the time we do curbside and all that stuff so that we're not out in the public in general. We're really staying isolated. We're only doing like church online, stuff like that. And that can be kind of an adjustment. It has been a big adjustment in our life. And in August, we had been doing this for a while. Our nephews had moved out by then, so it really was just the 4 of us. And we were starting to have some doubts, like, are we doing the right thing for our kids by not having them out, socializing with other kids at school? Are we, kind of having a life that isn't really living, by being just at home and all that stuff. And so we were having all these doubts and stuff like that and talking about it, my husband and I. And right at that time was when I had started homeschooling our 5-year-old, our kindergartner. And one of the first studies we did was we were studying North America. And as a read together, we read Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this book. So this is about a family in the, I think it's 1860s, 1870s, something like that, that are living out in the woods in a log cabin. They're pretty much just living together as a family. So the husband and wife, and they have 3 kids, though one is a baby. So it's mostly talked about the 2 younger children, and is told from the perspective of Laura, who I think is probably around the same age as my daughter. And, their life is pretty simple. And really, when I thought about it as I was going on, their life is not much different than what our life is. I mean, the way they live in the book is, since they're pretty far out. They don't see people very often. They only see their family members at special holidays because they have to make the trip to get to their family members, and it also takes a long time to get to town, so they don't go to town very often, only once every few months to trade. But mostly they spend their time, the dad is out hunting for food, the mom spends the time preparing that food and preserving it and taking care of the animals, that they live off of, like their cows, chickens, things like that. The girls help their mother to do that, but they also play outside, and obviously they're not going to school and stuff like that. And when I thought about it, our life is not much different from theirs. We spend our days taking care of our chickens so that we can have eggs. We tend our garden to have food from it. We obviously have access to grocery stores, so it is a lot different. And also we have access to the internet in order to help us with school and to talk to people and stay connected. So it is obviously different life now than in the 1800s. But, how many people read this book all the time and read this series? So obviously there's value found in this lifestyle. And so it put a different perspective on our life and the way we are living it, that it's different. It's different than it was back in January and February, but isn't any less valuable to live life like this, to live as a family and really spend that time together, to learn and grow together. My kids spend hours outside a day. I mean, you obviously see when I record, they're outside all the time. Because we do homeschool, I only need to school, a couple hours a day, unlike regular school that lasts for 6 hours. And I can condense all of the learning that she needs to do in a few hours so that they can spend so much time exploring. They probably spend 3 hours outside a day at least. And we will continue to do that. They'll just wear, gloves and hats and things like that as it gets colder, but they love exploring outside. And we spend a lot of time making our own meals. I would say since COVID started that we have not eaten in any restaurants, and we've only done takeout, I would say maybe 5 times in that 7 months, and I don't miss it. Truthfully, I really enjoy taking this time to make meals for the family, and we experiment on new things. The kids help us, especially Bernadette. She loves making, we have a dish that we make called a kaka, which I believe is Scandinavian. I'm not for sure, but it's something that's run in the family. So she loves to make that together. It's a breakfast dish. And then she's been learning about making things from different countries, because that's part of what we're doing as our homeschool curriculum. So she's made all kinds of meals from different countries, and it's just a joy to be able to do those things together. And yes, it's different. Things are going to be different for the holidays too. For Halloween, we're not going to go trick-or-treating, but we are, as a family, going to, decorate cupcakes together, with Halloween themes. We'll get a big balloons for them to play with because they love that. And then we're going to do a scavenger hunt around the house with candy and stuff like that, or around the yard, so they can still have the kind of trick-or-treating experience. And so I don't think that our lives are any less valuable for making the decision to be out of society for a little while. And it just helped me put a new perspective on the decisions we made. And I just want to make it clear that I obviously want COVID to be done. I don't want people to be getting sick and dying, and that everybody has to make their own decisions. Not every family has the resources. We are privileged that we have the resources, that my husband already had a job where he worked from home, and that I wasn't working because I was taking care of the kids, and that we had already made that decision as a family. So we are in a privileged position to be able to still live what could consider a normal life, and still with the amount of resources that we need in order to do that. But I just think it helps me to think about the fact that looking at a life like this, a simple life, that is just as valuable as going to the gymnastics classes and going out to eat and doing going to the playground and all that stuff. This being at home and enjoying our yard and nature and exploring and learning together, reading together as a family, all that stuff is still as valuable as what would be called a normal life in American society. So I just wanted to share that with you all, because I think it's special as people that enjoy books, that read books, that books can have a big impact on your life and can change your perspective on something that can cause a lot of anxiety. Obviously COVID has caused a lot of anxiety in me personally and in a lot of other people. And it helps me to realize that like we have made this decision for ourselves and for our health and for the health of others in our family and in our community, and that it's all right, that that's an okay decision, and that we can still live a full life making that choice. And it's not necessarily what other people would call normal, but it is still a full, valuable life. And I see a lot of those memes where people say that birthdays don't count this year and that 2020 should just be erased from history. But the truth is that this is life. This is happening right now, that this year or possibly two before things kind of return to normal, is happening. And I don't want to erase an entire life from my kids' history. I want them to be able to still have 2020 or 2021 as like something they can look back on and see some highlights and some blessings that happened during that time, even though there's really bad things happening in the world and all that stuff, that we can't just erase an entire year or two from our lives, that we should still be able to find blessings and value in that time, even if it's not the way we saw it before. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. Obviously, I'm not judging anybody else's choices and the lifestyles they make. I just want to make that clear. I just want to share with you what we are doing, and that I felt a lot of comfort after reading this book together with my children and seeing that our life is not much different than the way people all used to live. And I just hope you all are doing well. I would love to talk to you down below about this topic or anything that you're feeling right now, any books that might have had an impact on your personal life, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.